Republican presidential candidate Will Hurd, former Texas congressman, joins us now. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it. So what is your response? Prosecutors say, according to our sources, that they have evidence that the Trump team was involved in this breach of election equipment.
Well, as someone who's helped build cybersecurity companies, I think this is an example of how this is not about the First Amendment. This is about a president trying to overturn an election and creating a conspiracy. This kind of infrastructure is considered critical infrastructure, and it's supposed to be defended. The Trump team tried to get access in other places, and they went through the legal process, and courts gave access to some of the information. In this case, they weren't getting it, so they tried to take it themselves. And to me, it's an indication of how fragile our election system is, and how Donald Trump's efforts were making us increase our lack of trust in our systems. And one more example of why Donald Trump is running for president is because he's trying to stay out of jail, because as more of this information comes out, and as the American people recognizes the extent of his baggage, they're getting sick and tired of it.
Well, do polls indicate that Republicans are, though? Because all the polls I've seen suggest that most Republicans believe this lie about the election that has been fed to them by not only Donald Trump, but Fox and other right-wing media and other people on Capitol Hill, who are lying about the election being stolen when obviously we know that's not the case.
These are the same pollsters that thought issue 1 in Ohio was going to pass, and it ended up getting crushed by 18%. These are the same people that in 2022 said Kevin McCarthy was going to have a 40+ majority in the House, and it ended up in 5. Here's the reality: when I crisscross the state, whether I'm in New Hampshire, Iowa, Texas, California, Alabama, people come up to me and they say, "Hey, you're right. He is running to stay out of prison." So I'm not questioning his front runner status, but what I am saying is that many people don't want to see Donald Trump or Joe Biden be the nominees, and people are looking for something different. And guess what? If they want to have these things happen, and if those people want to see something different, I need them to go to herdforamerica.com, help me get on the debate stage so we can talk about these things, and all I need is $1 a donation to make sure I hit those thresholds.
So in order to get on that debate stage in 2 weeks, you need to hit a polling threshold, you need to hit a donor threshold, 40,000 donors, and you need to sign the pledge, the RNC debate pledge. You think that you're going to hit the first two, right? The polling and the donor threshold?
That's correct. That's correct. I'm hoping that at the end of this conversation, I can say, you know, all of Jake Tapper's friends watching TV help put me put over that 40,000 threshold by going to herdforamerica.com. But look, Jake, I've said it before. I'm not going to lie to get access to a microphone. I've never signed a contract without making amendments to it, and unfortunately, you know, since 2015, I've been the only person in this race that has been critical of Donald Trump and talked about how he's a national security threat. And so my goal is to hit all those requirements and force the conversation. Oh, and guess what? Donald Trump hasn't even agreed to sign the debate pledge. Donald Trump hasn't even agreed to show up to the debate. And it was Donald Trump and his team that got the RNC to put this loyalty oath because he wanted all the other candidates to bend a knee to him. I won't do that. I've been honest about that. But again, we're working hard to hit those other requirements.
Yeah, just to be clear, the pledge says that if you participate in the debate, you will support whoever the nominee is. And you're right, Donald Trump said, I think just yesterday, or maybe the day before, that there are like 3 or 4 people that he would never support. So he's expressed skepticism. But that does suggest, though, that Donald Trump, who has already said he might not be at the debate anyway, but that you won't be on the debate stage, and isn't that a campaign ender for you?
No, a lot can happen in the next 10 days, and so I want to be able to force that conversation and see what happens. And if Donald Trump doesn't participate, what is the RNC going to do? So there's a lot of variables at play here. My issue is not supporting the Republican nominee. My issue is I'm not going to support Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not running for president to make America great again. Donald Trump is running for president to stay out of prison.
Would you vote for President Biden over President Trump?
Look, my goal is to vote for myself, and that's my plan, and that's plan A, and that's what I'm focused on.
I want to ask about Hunter Biden because a lot of Republicans, including former House colleagues of yours and some of your 2024 rivals, are blasting Attorney General Merrick Garland's appointment of the special counsel, David Weiss, in the Hunter Biden probe. They claim it's a cover-up to protect the Bidens, even though some of them had previously asked for Weiss to be, get the special counsel powers. What do you make of that, and what do you think of the appointment of the special counsel?
Well, I think a special counsel should have been appointed in this case. The question is this is the individual that looked like tried to negotiate a sweetheart deal for Hunter Biden on those 2 other cases. So the question that most conservatives have is he going to use the full extent of his powers in order to prosecute this, or is this going to be an effort to shield information going to Congress?
Yeah, but what do you think?
Look, time is going to tell. I've made it very clear that DOJ should show a level of transparency that they've never shown in their history because of the sensitivity of all these cases, whether it's the documents case and the January 6th case against Donald Trump, or it's what's happening against Hunter Biden. There's a lack of trust in our institutions, and the only way you can repair trust is by showing a level of transparency. And that's what is called for in all of these cases. And again, I think the whistleblower that talked about Hunter Biden calling his father when he had clients on the line. Here's the reality: the inner circle or the immediate family of a president should not be allowed to be lobbyists or consultants when their father or their husband is the president of the United States.
Yeah, I mean that call, just FYI, took place in 2017 when Joe Biden was not in office. I want to ask you about immigration because you're from you used to represent a border district, and just on Thursday, a 3-year-old child who was aboard a bus of asylum seekers died. The bus had been headed to Chicago from Texas as part of Texas Governor Greg Abbott's program, sending asylum seekers who had come into Texas to Democratic-run cities across the country. Obviously a horrible incident. Do you support what Governor Abbott is doing in shipping these migrants, and what about this little boy?
Well, look, any death is unacceptable, and we should all be saddened from it and try to prevent that from happening. But 100 people died just last month in Texas because of the inhumane policies. We always focus on
because of the open borders, quote unquote.
Because of open borders, because we're not stopping narco traffickers and the human smugglers, because we're not addressing root causes in places like the Northern Triangle. And so we should be upset about all of this. And 5.5 million people coming into the country illegally is unacceptable. Last year, there was a drowning case, 2 drowning cases a couple of weeks ago. But last year, 141 people drowned in the Rio Grande River, and nobody was talking about that. The policies of Joe Biden are the ones that are inhumane. He needs to start treating human smugglers like terrorist organizations. We also need to be addressing the fentanyl issue. I think fentanyl is a precursor element of a weapon of mass destruction. We should be treating fentanyl with that level of focus, and we need to be working with our allies throughout Central and South America, something that Joe Biden has been incapable of doing. Oh, and by the way, Donald Trump was pretty terrible at that. So these are the things that we need to be doing, and also these are the conversations we should be having, and this is why Americans are sick and tired of both Donald Trump and Joe Biden and all their legal baggage, because there's a lot more issues we should be addressing that we haven't had the chance to do.
Congressman Will Hurd, always good to see you, sir. Thanks so much for being here in studio.